Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by Genesis House, FirstNet, built with AT&T, and the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction. Join our hosts,
Podfather, Jersey Ed,
and Noontime with Skylar Noon,
as they speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Hey everybody, Friends in Recovery Podcast, Jersey Ed here, and I'm here with my co-host today.
And it's Noontime with Sky. How's everyone doing?
Good. And we're missing the Podfather. So guys, we miss you, Podfather. He couldn't be here today, but he'll be back next week. And that's a hard job, Sky. That's a hard job to do. Just introducing, like the Podfather just like spits it out and it's done and it's over with. And
yeah, he's like good. A radio announcer. He just does it real naturally flowing.
Exactly. No, I didn't even practice. I'm like, yeah, that's going to be easy. Hi, everybody. Welcome to, like, what are you talking about? But anyways, welcome guys. Real quick, our guest today is Dennis Berry. Guys, stick around for Dennis, man. We had a little pre-show warm up and we should have recorded that, guys.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But Dennis Berry is, he has a lot of things going on. He's in recovery, life coach, and I'll get into it a little bit more, and we'll go from there. But I do want to let everybody know, if you want to get a hold of us, give us a call at 617-379-1163, or you can email us at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com, and keep those emails coming. And we also have some community.
Yeah, so we have social media. We have the Friends in Recovery podcast page and the Friends in Recovery community of support group. You can request to be in that. We do all kinds of fun stuff in there, different ways to engage with each other. This Tuesday, or the 16th of this month, that will be our Ventures meeting. So our Ventures Planning Committee meeting.
Yeah.
So that's super fun, and we have a skating event we're doing this month. Yeah. We're going to be roller skating.
So if you go on, everybody, if you go on our Facebook pages, Help at Friends in Recovery, that's our email.
Friends in Recovery Podcast,
Friends in Recovery Podcast, or Friends in Recovery Adventures, or Friends in Recovery Communities.
Yes.
Just look up Friends in Recovery, and all this stuff will come up, and you'll find the babble that me and Skylar are trying to put out here. So, but and just to want to remind everybody that we do 12-step meetings daily, 2 times a week. Friends in Recovery, we do two 12-step meetings, noon and 7 p.m., 7 days a week. Please check them out. Depending on what coast you're on, that's East Coast time. So you do the math, subtract or add or whatever it is, and be there at that time. Great meetings, guys. Great community. So also, guys, we need your likes and subscribes. That's really important to us, so we can kind of get this word out and keep the show going and all that good stuff. So likes and subscribes are real important. Just scroll down during the show, hit 5 stars. If you're watching us, hello. If you're not, but anyways, that's kind of it. So, Skylar, we have Dennis Berry on the show, and
yes.
A couple of days ago, really just a couple hours ago, I'll be honest, because this is my prep an hour before. I'm like, who's on the show today? But I read his bio a while ago, but I looked at his website, man. He has an awesome website. I mean, you guys have to check it out, dennisberry.com. And I'm going to give you a little bit of what he does, and we're going to bring him on. He has an amazing story, guys. He's just a all around cool fucking dude. Okay, that's what he is, and he just likes helping people. And him and I had a little conversation a couple weeks ago, but he was really cool. So Dennis Berry is a master life coach and has been working with people worldwide for over 15 years. With modern technology, he can work with anybody, anywhere via Zoom. His expertise is in life mastery. He has also been sober since April 8th, 2003. During which time he became a successful businessman, athlete, and family man. His journey in recovery helps him find his mission in life, which is to help others achieve their inner peace and success and master every area of their lives. Dennis knows what it is like to be helpless and hopeless with no positive direction. I think we all know that one. A lot of our listeners probably know that too. He was able to climb out of the gutter and transform his life, transform his life and spends his life helping others doing the same. A couple things that Dennis did in the past. That he wrote a book called The Funky Wisdom. He has a podcast, Funky Brain podcast. Check that out. Again, Life Mastery School, coaching, public speaking. He does a little bit of everything. You can find all that on dennisberry.com, and that'll be all in the show notes. But welcome to the show, Dennis. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty awesome. Thanks for the intro. That makes me sound really cool.
Well, you are really cool.
Yeah. Well,
you are really cool.
Yeah. I heard this thing years ago. This guy, some baseball player got busted for doing steroids or something, a big beloved one that everybody loved. And everybody was like so down on him. And the guy was like, you don't want to ever get to know anybody too well because, we're all imperfect. Eventually it all comes out, but everybody puts everybody up on a pedestal. And then eventually we realize we're all just flawed human beings, just like the next one.
Yeah. It's funny you brought that up, Dennis. And because, baseball players, football players, basketball players. I just read this book called Atomic Habits. I'm not sure if you read that. Amazing book. If you pick it up. I read it in like 5 days, and it takes me like 10 weeks to read the comic section. So, but it's called Atomic Habits. And basically, and I'm sure you heard this but it really put things in perspective. When you see a basketball player make that foul line jump or the 3-point basket, that's a lot of practice. That's a lot of time that they're not in front of people. That's a lot of time that they're just in sweatpants and just, at the gym or at, we don't see that. We see Shaq out there, hammering things away. And that goes with everybody in life. We all think everybody's perfect. We're perfectly imperfect. And thank you for bringing that up, because that sets the tone for everything, and that life is not perfect. So this podcast probably won't be perfect.
Well, yeah, those are all great points. It's like I've been sober a long time, and but I'm still not perfect. I work with couples, and I help couples save their marriage, 30-year marriages, 20-year marriages. But I'm not a relationship group. Like, I have problems in my own relationship. Yeah. So everything is like we're all just. My favorite meme lately over the last year or so was, the older I get, the more I realize that nobody really knows what's going on. We're all just kind of winging it. Every day.
We all know nothing.
Wake up, we're like, hey, why don't I try this today? We'll see how that goes.
That's it.
Trial and error.
That's it. That's life, man. That's how that's how you started your business. I'm sure that's how you wake up and you figure, okay, well, if the shit didn't work yesterday, let's try some new shit today and figure it out today. And eventually, my saying, Sky, in all of our meetings, the more shit you throw against the wall, better chances you got to stick, so
and we don't fail. Like the late great Dr. Wayne Dyer, he used to say this all the time. It's like, nobody ever fails at anything. Failure is the biggest fear everybody has. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of everything. But everybody says fear of failure, but he says, none of us ever really fails at anything. All we do is produce results. And it's what do you do with the results you produce? So if I throw you a football and you drop it, are you a football failure? No. Then I keep throwing you the football and you catch it. Now you're a football success. If you're a real estate person and you're trying to sell a house and the deal falls through, are you a real estate failure? No, you keep, next month you sell another house. Now you're a real estate success. Exactly. So all we do is produce results. What do you do with the results that you produce? Exactly. And life is just a series of producing results. And then what do we do with those results? And eventually we become successful.
But Dennis, it brings up a good point to the human brain automatically defaults to negative thinking. And that's just a proven fact. We have over 50 to 60,000 thoughts a day. Okay. That's about 2,000 to 3,000 thoughts an hour. And 90% of those thoughts, and we can only have one thought in our head at a time. And 90% of those thoughts are negative. And we have to learn how to retrain our brain so some of those positive thoughts can come in. It's a whole science on it. I read it in some book, but it's a whole science on it. And it's crazy that we're that negative in our brain. But it goes back, I think, to, and I promise we'll get into your story here, but this is fascinating. This is like right up my alley, man. I love this shit. But it goes back to caveman days, because we had to protect ourselves. We had to watch everything. We had to be on the lookout for everything. Is that going to kill me? What's that? Is that a dinosaur? Is that a tree? You know, we had to be prepared for that. But nowadays, it's not. It's nothing. You know, everything's handed to us. Really, you know, we just got to learn how to do it, do something with it. So
yeah, and what you were talking about is instinct. So we used to be more instinctual, right?
Yes.
Because we needed to be, and we also, and keep that in mind, we also used to move on quicker, or we used to let things go quicker and move to the next thing.
Yeah.
Now, so what happened years ago, we were out, we had to like find food. You know, we didn't have McDonald's and Chick-fil-A. We had to go out and find food. And then we were very instinctual. Something would happen. We would like get in a fight with somebody, and then we would just move beyond it and go to the next thing.
Yeah.
Like, cause we were just animals. Now we hold on to stuff. Now we think more, and we worry more, and we stress more. What do people think about us? Am I 5 pounds overweight? Is my 401k okay? I need health insurance. Who's the fucking president? So we have to like worry about all these things, and we hang on. And then there's sirens and horns and all this crazy noise, these artificial noises that invade our minds, and we get stressed out and we don't even realize it. So we drink, or we do drugs, or we need pills, or we eat, or we watch porn, or we go shopping. All these are all distractions, or we watch Netflix for 6 hours, or play on our phones, or we combine all those together because we don't want to be by ourselves and think. We're scared to death of our own minds.
Yes. I tell you what, and we'll talk about your recovery right after this, because you have it. You know, I want to hear your story, and you know, fascinating to hear what's going on. But I do a screenless Sunday now. Okay, and you want to talk about like the scariest feeling in the world? Try to put your phone down. Screen, no computer, no TV, no nothing. The first day I did it a couple weeks ago, I got to 8 o'clock in the morning. That was it. And I get up at about 5. So I was making coffee, cleaning the counters.
3 hours, that's pretty good.
It's not bad. Yeah.
Start.
Last Sunday I got to 5 o'clock. So it's small things, you know, Skylar, just like you sent me, everything big starts small, man. You know, that's how it starts. So tell us your start, Dennis, how you start. Why are you here? You know,
why am I here on the podcast today?
No, just why, you know, your recovery.
What got you started on this path?
Here. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I was dying, and I don't know how, I think we only have a short time here, right?
Well, yeah, but we'll cut it and we'll come back in. We'll let you know.
Oh yeah, sure. So I'm an old ski guy. I grew up in Jersey where you guys are, but I haven't lived there in a long time. And when I graduated high school, which was in 1990, I went up to Vermont. I was up there for 10 years and skiing and partying, living that life, hiding from the world, you know, and I knew I was messed up. You know what happened? And you can relate to this, is my hair started getting thin when I was like 17, 18 years old. And it devastated me. And so I arranged my life to hide from the world and wear a hat so nobody would see. Wow. So I became a ski guy, a ski racer, so I can wear a hat. I became a chef because in the restaurants I could wear a hat. And I hid from the world for 13 years. And I just drank and snorted cocaine, whiskey and cocaine, cigarettes. My whole life was, who you see right now is not who I used to be. And I hid from the world, you know. But let's go back earlier. When I was 5 years old, my grandmother told my mother, he worries like a little old man. You know, I was 5 years old and already had no idea how to handle the stressors of life. Like we just talked about, you know, the fears, the insecurities. What do people think about me? I'm worried about everything and I don't know how to cope. So you fast forward to 15 years old and I take my first drink and I'm like I don't have to feel that way anymore. I don't have to feel anything anymore. So, you know, and then you take that another 15 years and I never learned how to grow up and I never learned how to be mature and how to handle life and financial responsibility and heartache and to work well and relationships and all these things and health. And so the reason most people fail in sobriety was, well, one, it's hard. And two, you can't just remove the harmful behavior. You have to grow. You have to change your life. One of my favorite sayings in the program was like, you only have to change one thing, and that's everything. You know, but that's a lot to think about when you first come in and you're painful. you're feeling all this pain and everybody's like, well, you're full of resentment and anger. And you're like, that's a big word. Like, I don't know any of that stuff. I just need to stop drinking. I'm dying. You know, so
I can totally relate. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
they throw everything at you. It's like, listen, I came here to stop drinking. You're right. I
didn't know what the word resentment meant.
Yeah,
I didn't even know.
I had to look it up. Yeah, so I'm like, I didn't know I was mad at my mother and church. Like, I just was like, I need to stop drinking or I'm gonna die. Like, literally. So, you know, and they say you just keep going back, and eventually I started picking up on it, that it's not about not drinking. It's about growing up, looking the world in the eye, being honest, and learning how to live like those mature adults that you see walking around that know how to say the right things at the right times, and
the normals, normies,
whatever normal is.
Yeah,
but you know, it takes time, and you know, I put in that time. I was like, but you know, we were talking earlier, is that nobody's perfect. You know, and a lot of people, what part of our problem was that when things get hard, we don't know how to handle it. So we revert back to our old behaviors. So first we need to identify our old behaviors. Well, ours clearly is drinking and snorting cocaine. So we need to be like, oh, well, I can't do that because it's not working. It's killing me. It used to work, or did it even ever really used to work?
Good question.
Right? That's
we
our
thought it did. That was the illusion we see.
Yes.
Right, exactly. That's an illusion. So we have to identify our old beliefs and behaviors. Where did those come from? Probably when I was like 4 years old, 5 years old, that those behaviors happened. I didn't know how to do this. I'm scared. So I found a way to cope with it and get past that uncomfortable feeling. And in some cases, maybe it was isolation. Maybe it was eating. Maybe I don't know, running outside, running away from problems. And then those are the bad behaviors. And then we carry those into our adult lives, along with drinking, snorting cocaine, smoking, eating, watching porn, all these things. And then we don't know how to cope. We just keep distracting ourselves from living productive, healthy, happy lives.
Well, there was no time to grow up. I mean, because every time we had a feeling, we just numbed it with cocaine or alcohol. That was my drug of choice too, is cocaine or alcohol, and cocaine and alcohol together, either one, first, second, doesn't matter. But whatever I can get my hands on.
Here's the day, I don't like cocaine. I just like the way it smells.
That's
I like that one. I never heard that one.
Oh my God, that is
You
true.
can use that if you want. It's a good
Thanks.
We got it.
Totally stealing it.
Just can you put that in writing so we can sign off? And no,
you have it on video.
Oh, good. All right. There you go. But yeah, no, you're right. It's we're just hiding things, you know, hiding what our true feelings are. My sponsor always tells me, Eddie, one good thing about recovery is you get your feelings back. The bad thing about recovery is you get your feelings back, you know, and you know, I have some time under my belt, but you know, I still get my feelings hurt, or I still want what I want when I want it, and how I want it, you know what I mean? But I have to step back every once in a while and just say, okay, you know what, the world doesn't revolve around Ed, and there's other really good people out there, not just me, you know, and I can learn from people like you and Skylar and all those millions of other people. If I just keep my fucking mouth shut and listen to people and take their advice and just move on through this world the way we're supposed to. So.
And you know, real quick before we go to break, you mentioned beliefs and behaviors, and that's so important because even in recovery, I struggle with that because, like you said, it could be porn, it could be shopping, it could be eating, and then I'm sitting there and I got to go, Skylar, what are you running from? What's really going on? You know, like how many times in recovery do we do that? I mean, those beliefs and behaviors, we work on them, yes, and they get better, but they have a great way of creeping up, and we have to deal with them still. So it's like, you know, it's an ongoing process, and beliefs and behaviors are so important in this process. I agree with that 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, do we have to break?
No, Ed, you can finish your
well, one of my favorite quotes out there in the world from a philosopher, and I forget who it was, but he's like, all of man and woman's problems stem from our inability to sit quietly in a room alone. We always have to be out there doing something. That's where all these distractions come in. As soon as a thought comes in that I need to be out there doing something, that's why people don't want to meditate. They don't want to, that besides, you know, all these fears that we're talking about, besides failure, the biggest fear, failure, speaking in front of people and sitting alone with our own minds in silence. That is the greatest fear most people have. So sitting in a room by ourselves, sitting still, I'm like, I have to go out and make money. I have to go out and contribute to my 401k plan or I'm going to die. Oh, I have to pay for health insurance. I can't, the president or the politicians or all this stuff that we have to pay attention. Do I look okay? What do people think about me? Like, this is what goes through our heads, and we have to go out and do something about it rather than sit still and find the solution within inside of us.
And usually that's all within about 3 minutes also.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, 1 minute. Yeah. And meditation, I'd like to come back and talk a little bit more about meditation because that is a great, sitting alone by yourself is wonderful, but it does suck. And we'll go a little bit more into that and some of the things that you do and some of the great work that you're doing. But guys, real quick, Dennis Berry is our guest today. We're gonna come back right after these words, Friends in Recovery podcast, and we'll be right back.
You're first to respond, first to put others' lives before your own. And in an emergency, you need a network that puts you first, that connects you to technology, to each other, and to other agencies. Built with and for first responders. FirstNet, the only congressionally authorized wireless network for first responders. Because putting you first is our job.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Friends in Recovery podcast. I am Jersey Ed, and I'm with
Time with Sky.
Yeah, who's knocking her microphone around. And our special guest today is Dennis Berry. What else can go wrong, huh?
It's one of them days.
Exactly. We're with Dennis Berry here. We're going to get back to him in a second. But Scott, you know what time it is, right?
Yeah, it's sober pod time.
Sober pod time, yeah.
The best time of the day, right?
Yeah, it is the best time of the day. So, Carl, Ellen, Steve, hello, guys. We love you, Chelsea. Great show over there. If you guys just look up Sober Pod and just listen to them. I know a lot of you guys do listen to Sober Pod. I'm getting emails left and right, and everything about them. The good thing, Sky, I think I'm coming real close to getting the restraining order lifted off of Carl.
Nice. He's going to finally lift it.
He's going to finally lift it. Him and I were talking the other day, and it was all cool. No, it's, he laughs every time I talk to him. I know. No more stalking. We're talking now. So
yes, there we go.
Yeah. But they're so laid back out there, Sky. It's amazing. Like here, we're like, let's get this shit done. This show has to go. Get it done. 15, cut it off. 15, cut it off. We're done. See you later, Dennis. And that's it. They're just like, whatever, dude. Like, are we done? I'm like, what do you mean? Were you fucking done? Are you kidding me? So go listen to the show. Go listen to Sober
Laid
Pod.
Back Attitudes.
Laid back attitude. And Sky, I think you have something to.
So we did this before, and we wanted to try to kick it off again, and because it was really successful when we did it. It was sober dates. We want your sober date. We don't care if it's in the month, what month it is, if it's this month, next month, or it just passed. We want to hear what your sober date is. We want to give shout outs about it. One celebrates, we all celebrate. And that's because your clean time is my clean time in a way, because we did this together. I didn't do this alone. So you sharing your time gives us all hope. It doesn't matter if you have less time or more time. So please send them in. We love doing it. And you don't realize by you sending your clean data how much hope that can really give somebody. Absolutely. And all it takes is sending us an email. So that is help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com.
Send your clean date and how many years you have. So
yes,
Dennis Berry, welcome back to the show. Before all the stuff happened and breaks and all that, we were talking about meditation and what's your thoughts on it? I know we were talking about it before the break. And what's your thoughts on meditation? My quick thought here is that it's hard as hell, but it's super productive for me during the day. It's just an amazing tool to have in life, but you got to practice it. It's called a practice for a reason. And that's my take on it. I like that. He's pointing something. That means I said something right. He likes me, guys. He likes me.
Well, you nailed it there. The thing with meditation, well, first of all, I think, and I forgot because we got cut off earlier, but I think I was saying the idea of meditation is to not control your mind, but to not let your mind control you. Mm-hmm. And what you just said was so awesome, because people all over the place, first of all, if you can ever sit down for a minute and stop being so busy and important, then they're like, I tried meditation, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. But you have to, it's a repetitive thing. Like you just said, it's a practice. So when you meditate, your brain produces serotonin. That's the calm chemical in our bodies that keeps us calm. And we don't have much of it anymore because we always have to be out doing shit. But when you meditate, your brain produces serotonin. And if you meditate for, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes, even if it's a guided meditation, whatever type of meditation you're doing, there's really no such thing as a bad meditation. As long as you're making an effort to calm your mind down from the 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts, almost 1 per second that we have on a daily basis. So when your brain produces serotonin and then you don't meditate again for 3 or 4 weeks or ever, you're not going to get the effects of meditation. So if you can meditate in the morning, and I always stress the importance of routines. So when I wake up in the morning, if I grab my phone and look at Facebook and see what some politician is screwing me over on, then that's the way my day is going to go. Yep. But if I could wake up in the morning, read something productive, sit still for a little bit, that's the way my day is going to go. I have a choice how my day is going to go. So if I can calm myself down, sit still for 10 or 20 minutes, and then produce some of that serotonin, that calm chemical to keep me calm, instead of cortisol, which keeps me in a constant state of panic, the stress, that's the stress chemical that our brains produce, then I stand a better chance of staying calm and productive throughout the day. And if I get off, at 12 o'clock and my day starts going the wrong way, I don't have to wait until tomorrow to have a better day. I don't have to waste 24 hours of my life. Start over right now. Start your day over right now. So go sit on the toilet for 2 minutes and just calm down. So meditation is vital. And if you produce that serotonin every day, all day throughout the day, you just become calmer.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is right. Go ahead,
I was just going to say that there's this meeting. It's a step 11 meeting. And the first 5 minutes of it is quiet. And it forces you. And it's like, when you go to the gym, you see everyone else doing it. Like I always say that example, because when I see everyone else meditating, I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. And it just gives me hope. That's how we all work together. But it's 5 minutes of a first meeting. Could you imagine just silence? And there's 700 people on this Zoom meeting. Wow. And we're all silent together meditating. Wow. That's pretty cool.
Crazy. Yeah.
And think about how good you feel. As soon as you open your eyes, you're like, why don't I do this every day?
It's every day, the meeting too, at 10 a.m.
Yeah. And it is because there's an app that I use and it helps me because it's very hard to focus. So I feel this app, I'm not going to mention her name until they come sponsor us, but it's very calming, just to let you know. And you can email us at help@friendsandrecovery podcast if you want to. No, I'm just kidding. But it really does work. And at the end, she usually says, okay, wiggle your fingers and toes and open your eyes. And when I hear open your eyes, it is just the calmingest. Even if I say to myself, just open your eyes, it calms me down even during the day. It really does. And but that's over years of practice. You gotta practice it. Because here's the thing, guys, when you're this show's not about meditation. We're gonna get more into what you do now. But when you practice that, it just trains your body, like you said, Dennis, to calm down instead of producing the crazy drugs in your brain to keep you all tight and everything. It just calms you down. So thank you for that great explanation of it. Now, Funky Brain podcast, Life Mastery School, coaching, the Funky Wisdom, public speaking. Tell us about all that good stuff and why you're doing it and kind of how you kind of put it all together, because it's very interesting that you're doing all this. So
well, it all stems actually from AA early on. I'm not a very good AAer nowadays. I don't go as much as I used to, but early on you know, and we were talking before the break about how your life unfolds as sobriety goes on. Your life just changes, you know. And one of the things I love, and people say it all the time, is when, you know, if I was to write down what my life would have been like in 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 years of sobriety, I would sell myself way short. And my life has gone in so many different directions, like a ping pong ball. And I paid the price for some of those things, those ping pong balls, you know, because I take the road less traveled. I am an entrepreneurial type person, and I've had massive failures, which we talked about. Nobody ever really fails at anything, but I've had massive success too. But I have paid the price for taking some of those risks. But I took those risks. And, you know, I went to college. My bachelor degree was in hotel resort business management. Wow. And I ended up being a chef, but I had a catering company. Then I got into fitness. And then I was a rare coin dealer. And then I'm a coach, and sales and marketing. Like, you never know how your life is going to go. I spent 8.5 years raising a special needs boy. I was never around children. I didn't have the capability. When I was 20, I drove my car into a house, you know, and I drank for 11 years after that. So you just never know how life is going to go. But when you're sober, you have choices, and you can continue to grow, like we were talking about. And it's been a wild ride, but I wouldn't have changed any of the paths that I took, because it brought me to who I am today. And so early in AA, just like everybody else, I would sit there quietly listening for a while and go, oh, that guy's stupid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. You haven't been through what I've been through. You don't know what it's like. And then I started realizing that that's not true. And that's not bullshit. And it's not about just not drinking. It's about growing up. And AA is a great teacher for that. And then I started talking, and then people started asking me to be the speaker. And then it's funny, because I started dating a girl in AA, which don't do that. Girls are crazy. Well, they're always anyway. But this was funny. This was like maybe 5 years in, and she goes, you know, you used to share all the time and nobody know what the fuck you were talking about. You know, so we just share. We would just talk, you know, and it's amazing. I had so much growing up to do. I was 31 at the time, and it took me 5, 6, 7 years to really understand what was going on, because I dug myself into such a pit of despair, you know? And so it's funny. One of my clients just yesterday, we were talking about this. He's about a year or 14 months in, and the awarenesses that he's starting to get are awesome. And I said to him, you know, where you are right now took me about 6 or 7 years to understand.
Yes.
I said, do you know how valuable it is? Well, one, to have me, of course, because I'm the best coach. But what I said, to have a coach, a mentor, some sort of accountability partner. It doesn't have to be me. It's somebody else. And that's, you know, the 12-step programs do a great job of that. You have your sponsor, somebody else who's not emotionally attached to your shit.
Yes.
But, you know, in terms of us with coaching, life coaching, mentorship, whatever it is, somebody who's not emotionally attached to your shit, who has some training that can help guide you to those awarenesses and to that wisdom. So that's why I do what I do. That's the long answer to that. Why do I do what I do? So I just cut 6 years off of that learning curve for that guy. And that makes me happy. You know, if I can help one person not want to have to think about suicide or homicide or, you know, whatever other stresses, fears, anger, anxiety, or whatever is going on in their life, if I can alleviate some of that, that's why I do what I do. And then I started speaking more, and then I started the podcast, because my friends were like, you need to have a podcast. And I was like, I don't want to do all that shit. And I was like, fine. And then they're like, I said, I'm just going to do the audio. They're like, you have to do the video. I was like, I don't want to do all that shit. And that's like old thinking, right? So then I said, sure, okay. And he helped me set up all the lights and cameras and everything. And that's
helped you build that big brick wall behind you.
I built it hand by hand.
It looks good.
So that's why I do it. You know, I started writing a book like 5 or 6 years ago, and I didn't mean to write a book. It was really just getting all my funky thoughts out of my head. And my where the funky stuff comes from is all my friends in AA 15 years ago or more. They used to be like, oh, Dennis has funky brain again. Cause I would just talk. And so I was going to call my book Funky Brain, but I like the idea of wisdom, funky wisdom, because it implies growth. It implies that, maybe there's something good in there that I want to read. And so that's where Funky Wisdom, a practical guide to life, came from. But I call my podcast the Funky Brain Podcast with Dennis Berry.
Cool. Yeah. And it's a great podcast. I caught a couple episodes. I'm definitely going to dig in a little deeper and definitely watch it. But so that was my next question. Why funky? But I'll be explained everything. Funky brain. I like that. I didn't even think about it. My brain is still funky. It's still, but it's funky now. It used to be all fucked up all those years ago until I got a sponsor and I started working in steps. Now it's only funky. So, but
the thing is that remember, and we talk about this all the time, is like it could still be funky. I've removed drugs and alcohol, but I could still dig into my brain and get angry and resentful and full of fear and anxiety. So it's a constant. All of us are a constant work. Do you know why you need a life coach? Because we all need a coach. Every one of us needs a coach or a mentor or somebody who's not emotionally attached to our shit.
That is
it. Take a look at what we're going through and be like, what? Like we are so attached to the way things are supposed to be. We don't like change. None of us like change. And we're like all tightly wound. And when I can call my, your sponsor, a mentor, a coach, or somebody and say, hey, this is what's going on. And they're like, that's not
bullshit. Yeah. It's not.
Why don't we try this instead? And you're like, well, I never thought of that. Well, no, because you're all wrapped up in your
yeah. Why didn't I think of that?
Now, Dennis, real quick, coaching and life mastery. What's the difference between that? I mean, and I know you do, maybe explain a little bit of what coaching is, number one, and what you do with coaching, and then life mastery. Because I like the life mastery. Explain a little bit of it if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, with coaching, it's like where we start, and it's the same. I have a program that I do, and my coach is David Essel, and he's like the master, and he's really helped me do a lot in my life. And but what we do is we start with what we talked about earlier, our beliefs and our behaviors. So we go down and we look at the major areas of our life, which are usually what are our beliefs around ourselves, our bodies, our relationships with our families, our love relationships, our finances, our careers, and our spiritual lives, right? So how are we feeling about ourselves in all those areas? And then what are our expectations of ourselves in those areas? So now what we have, if my body looks like this or feels like this, but I want to look and feel like this, now we have a goal, right? Or my career, I'm down here, I make 50 grand a year, I want to make $1 million a year. Now we have a goal, right? So the first thing we need to do is establish where we are and where we want to be. In a lot of cases, because I do a lot of addiction recovery, we need to stop drinking or snorting cocaine. So, a lot of times that's where we start. And I work with a lot of women too. And originally it was just addiction recovery for men, because just like AA or 12-step programs, it was like men work with men, women work with women. Otherwise adult things happen and it screws everything up. So, but what happened was women would come to me because their sons or husbands or somebody was screwed up and they wanted me to help them, but they weren't ready yet, which we see all the time. So I started working with them to teach them about self-love, self-care, self-respect, how it's not their responsibility that they're not doing well, that they need to take care of themselves. So then I started working with women and then couples, and this has just evolved over the years.
That's great.
So once we have our goals, and what we want to do is we want to work on one goal at a time, one major goal at a time, not 5, one. Because we never get all these goals done at a high level. The greatest example is like New Year's resolutions. So you're like, every New Year's, there's like the 5 things. I want to lose weight, make more money, improve my relationships, and
stop drinking.
Yeah. And so a week later, you're overwhelmed because there's too many major things you're trying to do. So you're like, fuck it, I'm going to go have a drink and eat a cake. And screw my husband or wife or whatever. I don't care what they think. And now all of a sudden next year, it's the same 5-year New Year's resolution, right? Yeah. So it's such a common story. So what we do is we do one big thing at a time. It's called the one thing. What's our
Okay.
one thing that we're working on? And then from there, we create specific action steps to get that one thing done. Because remember, the drugs, the alcohol, whatever your addiction is, that's not the problem. We talked about that earlier. It's what I'm using to cope with the real problem, which is my thinking, my funky brain.
Yes.
And in a lot of cases, we can go back and dig into those old beliefs and behaviors. And maybe, you know, I work with a woman in her 40s, and she was drinking a couple of bottles of wine every night. And she was like 20 pounds overweight. And, you know, her relationship was fine. Everything was okay. And then she would eat a bunch of shit when she was drunk, and she couldn't figure out why she couldn't stop drinking. So while we were working together, we realized it came out, and it took a couple months for this to come out. And when she was 13 years old, she was violated by this 15-year-old boy at camp. And she never told anybody about it. She just buried it down for 30 years deep inside of herself. And you can only do that for so long. And we all have those things that happened to us when we were kids.
Yeah.
And eventually it comes out. So it comes out one way or another. It can
Weird
come
ways,
out. Yeah. It can come out in a therapy. It can come out through exercise, or it can come out in drugs and alcohol. But it's gonna come out.
Something's gonna come out. Absolutely. Now that's the coaching piece. What's the life mastery? Is that like you graduate from coaching and then you go into life mastery, or is that just something that is just a completely different program?
No, well, life mastery is just a term. Like, we want to master every area of our
Got
life.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So once we get through, like, what's the real problem? Let's work on that. When we get rid of the drugs, the alcohol, the harmful behaviors, what's next? You know, how can I master my entire life, my body, my health and wellness, my relationships, my finances, my career? How can I improve every area of my life? And it's hard to do on your own. And I'm a high performance coach. So I work with everybody from couples and 16-year-old kids to real estate moguls that make $1 million a month, make $1 million a month. So everybody in between. So it's just having a solid mindset and staying focused, like laser focused on that one thing and getting it done at a high level every week.
I like that.
And that's and listen, you're right. Everybody does need a coach, and I have a coach myself, and she's amazing. And like the stuff that you come up with and work out through with a coach is just beyond belief. It really is. And I really recommend definitely a coach, even like a mastermind. I also belong to like a mastermind group. Did you ever hear of Jesse Eisler?
Yes, I have.
BYLR communities. So I belong to that community. Guys, anything to grow in our recovery, to grow in our lives, to grow wherever we can grow. I love what you said about life mastery. Recovery is one part of our life. That's it. That's one part. We can't eat, sleep, breathe, shit recovery all day long, because there's other parts of our lives that we have to take care of. There's the personal life. There's the activity life. I'm a huge runner. I'm running a ultra marathon in 2 weeks, and my first one ever. And last year I did it's called the calendar run. I ran the day of, the mile of every day, and up to 30. I ran 480 miles in last June. And
Nice.
But if I didn't have a coach, or if I didn't have somebody directing me, it would have been, all right, well, I can't do that. I'm not good enough at 400. Yeah, you can do it. You can do anything you put yourself to. The problem is the funky brain. I love that. Is our funky brain telling us we can't do it. And if you sit in front of somebody, and I don't care what it costs, if you sit in front of somebody and they help you see it a different way, it's worth $1 billion, 100%, because you know what? You're going to make $10 billion if it's just amazing. It's just amazing what coaching can do.
Exactly.
It really is. Yeah. And if it costs, like you just said, if it costs you a few $1,000s to make $1 million, like, isn't that worth it?
It's so worth it.
Yeah. And to have somebody who is, who's not only attached to your stuff, but who's been trained to see, like, there's a lot of, it's a program that I have. These behaviors, they're all human behaviors. I don't want people to beat themselves up by anything that they've done in the past, because it's been done before. Like, we talk about that when you start doing like your fourth and fifth step, there's nothing I haven't heard or done myself. Right.
Yeah.
There's nothing you're going to tell me that I'm going to be like, oh my God.
Yeah. The coach has experience and can teach you. Like that's two things, you know what I mean? Like we need experience and someone that's been through it and that, you know what I mean, knows how to teach us how to do it themselves.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And I was taught, and I love this one too, is to have an expert in every area of your life. Because I'm not an accountant. I hate doing my taxes. I hate it. I don't want anybody to try to explain it to me. It pisses me off. So I have an accountant that does all that. And now I'm free to not have to do that. If I have to go to court, I need a lawyer. If I get sick, I need a doctor. If I want to crush my business goals, I need a coach.
Exactly.
You know, if I'm having problems getting sober, which if I'm thinking about getting sober and I'm not, then I probably have a problem. Otherwise, I would have got that done already. Right. So I probably needed somebody to help guide me through that. Absolutely. And so that's why I want to have these experts lined up in my life. And now I'm free to just kind of have a great life.
Just go and just be productive. Absolutely. Dennis, we're going to close here. I just want you to, if you can, well, first of all, you're definitely going to be back on the show. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's just so many topics that we can kind of touch on. And if, you know, hopefully we can do that in the near future.
I would love to do that. That would be
great. Good. And you can meet the Podfather. We really miss him. He's probably playing golf or something. Who knows what he's doing today, but tell us where we can find you, and your services and all that stuff. And of course it'll all be in the show notes too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, the best way, everything goes through my website, which is dennisberry.com. And from there, you can click on links to get to the Funky Brain podcast. And our biggest audience is on YouTube. And because I do the video too. So we have, you know, quite a bit of views there. But of course, it's on every podcast thing. And you can buy my book through there or on Amazon. And of course, you could schedule a free coaching session with me. And we can have a lot of fun, talk a little bit, see if we are a good fit for each other, which of course we will be, because I'm really cool.
He is really cool, guys. We got to know him in between breaks. And one other thing, if you could, I would like to, we do our weekly kind of motivational type giveaway, and on our Facebook pages, check out Facebook. I would love to have a book to give away to our listeners, if that's possible.
Yeah, I'll do like more than one.
Oh, cool. And so give me a few, and then what we'll do is if two people email me, I'll send them books out, and we'll give away a couple books on Facebook. How's that a deal?
Sounds great.
Send the email now.
Yeah, email help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. You email me, tell me why you want the Funky Brain, the Funky wisdom book, and we'll send it to you. Or don't tell me why, just say I want the fucking book. That's it. You know?
I want that fucking book.
It's a full sentence right there.
Damn it, I want that fucking book. No, and if you don't win it on here, if you don't get a chance to get it here, dennisberry.com, and it's there. Support his cause. He's doing wonderful things. Dennis, thank you so much for coming on and really explaining what you do and how you do it and how you're helping a lot of people. You're a wonderful soul.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You guys are great too. I really enjoyed our time together. It's a great connection.
Absolutely.
Yes, awesome.
So Sky, that's it. We missed the Podfather, and I guess I got to figure out how to get us out of here, because if not, we're going to talk to Dennis until Podfather gets.
I know, right? I was like, man, that half hour flew by. I'm like, and I know we went over, but I probably could have kept going, because I'm like, this is so great. This is interesting stuff, man.
Exactly.
So I really appreciate you coming on here. You taught us a lot, for me especially. You know.
No, thank you, man. Always gratitude and service. That's the mantra. For everybody, I want everybody listening to take that, write that down on your hand, put it in your phone. Gratitude and service. Just focus on that. Whatever you have, it's more than somebody else, and there's always somebody that you can help.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Dennis Berry at dennisberry.com. Thank you so much for being a guest today. And that's about all. So guys, thank you for listening, and stay sober, everybody.
This concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Thanks to Genesis House, FirstNet, built with AT&T, for supporting those on the path to recovery and keeping this valuable resource free for all our friends in recovery. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Brought to you by Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery. If you can't get enough of Mike, the Podfather, Jersey Ed and Skylar, you can catch them on Answering the Call, the First Responders Podcast, available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and GenesisHouse.net.